Hello and welcome to the tea. Welcome to the tea. Happy Women's History Month. I am so excited to be with you today. It's a big day. Everything always happens on a Thursday, right? We've had a big week and we've got a big day. This is a big, big, big day. I want you guys to stay tuned because we've got some great guests. First of all, let's start with the trending topics. This is the professional version of The Apprentice. Say it with me. You're fired. You're fired. Donald Trump said that to his embattled, controversial Homeland Security Secretary, Kristi Noem. She was just on the hot seat on Capitol Hill before the House Judiciary Committee yesterday. But I think I know why she got fired. I think you guys do too. Let's take a look. This is the question.
My time, I would like to enter into the record some articles, and I'm asking for unanimous consent. Noem tightens her grip on DHS. Lewandowski fired FEMA admin.
Without objection.
Okay. The next one is Kristi Noem secretly took a cut of political donations from ProPublica.
Without objection.
Kristi Noem fires pilot over a blanket, but is forced to reinstate him to fly home. Wall Street Journal.
Without objection.
Lewandowski taking out trash at Noem's D.C. home. Daily Beast.
Without objection.
Barbie's Mile High privacy chamber with alleged lover exposed. Wall Street Journal. How Corey Lewandowski became Kristi Noem's gatekeeper at DHS.
Without objection.
A pilot fired over Kristi Noem's missing blanket and the constant chaos inside DHS. Wall Street Journal. Police charge Trump campaign manager with assault. PBS News.
Without objection.
Woman who accused Corey Lewandowski of assault speaks out. I don't want this to happen to anyone else. CBS News. Lewandowski's firm quietly inked deal with Venezuela-owned company Politico.
Without objection.
List of U.S. cities raising security amid Iran conflict. Newsweek.
Without objection.
Kristi Noem, I have a few more, I'm sorry. Kristi Noem misled Congress yesterday about top aides' role in DHS contracts.
Without objection.
Policy number 10271 from ICE. It is an anti-fraternization policy prohibiting romantic or sexual relationships between supervisors and their subordinates. And with that, I yield.
Without objection. Gentleman from Texas recognized 5 minutes.
Anti-fraternization policy. One of those stories talked about the Mile High Club on her plane that does have a bed in it. Whew. This is, I don't think, well, for today, I don't think any of the Housewives shows can top this. But again, Kristi Noem, the woman who has been at the center of all of this issue with ICE patrols, she is now fired. She's now fired. And guess who is going to take her place? This is a one-word, first name is all one word. Mark Wayne Mullen, senator from Oklahoma, will take her place. Kristi Noem, we bid you adieu. Democrats have a win. Now let's see how this plays out still with this partial government shutdown. They've been complaining about Kristi Noem. Girl, they said bye. All right, anyway, Kristi Noem is gone. Welcome to the tea. We are knocking the pot over today. We're sipping and having a good time. And also there's another piece to this trending topics because we have a great guest coming in and I'm excited for her to join us. The next piece, we had our first midterm election group of primaries, 3 of them, North Carolina, Arkansas, and also in Texas. How can I forget Texas? It was something. So I want you guys to understand that this is important. These midterms are important because they're the lead up to what's going to happen in another 2 years. But this is what we should expect, according to Terrence Woodbury of HIT Strategies, when it comes to this midterm election cycle. Take a look. Georgia's on my mind. And people keep saying, no, Keisha is not going to. I said, let me tell you something. And I'm not a pollster, but I've been doing this for a long time and I see certain indicators, right? You've got white farmers in rural areas in this nation, in red states, that are dis disenfranchised, that are upset, that are hurting. Their pocket is hurting. They've been turned on. Their soy is not being sold to China. Their meat is being challenged by other countries, and they're not getting the profits that they used to. And that's just white farmers.
That's
Not
right.
even talking about black farmers. And in places like Georgia, where farming is a top industry, does Keisha Lance Bottoms have a chance? Because
I,
people are very upset.
what I often have to remind people is the electability argument is just depending on who you consider the swing voter, right?
Mm,
If the swing voter that you are going after are white suburban women who have
mm,
voted for Trump 3 times, majority of white suburban women have voted for Trump 3 times now, as opposed to the swing voter that Trump did a little bit better with men of color and a little bit better with young people and a little bit better with young black men, right? Those were the swing voters that
uh,
Trump was improving his margins on by 3 or 4 or 5% over the last 2 cycles. Well, that is the swing voter that a candidate like Jasmine Crockett and Keisha Lance Bottoms appeals to. They appeal to those young voters of color that have been splintering from the Democratic coalition. They appeal to men of color that have been splintering from the Democratic coalition.
I mean, think about it. Stacey Abrams, a black woman, did the unthinkable when people discounted her.
That's right.
She made Georgia, she turned that blood red state, turned it blue, right?
That's right.
So the bottom line is, I think Georgia is on the precipice. North Carolina is now purple, right? Or is it purple, or is it still kind of a shade of red that has a lot of blue popping through it? You know, what
Yeah,
is it?
look, the South is getting real purple. I tell the folks all the time, the South are not red states. They're just a bunch of oppressed states. It's more
Oh,
black.
I like
Listen,
that.
listen. Think about it, April. And across the South, you have states that have the largest black eligible voting population in places like Mississippi, Louisiana, but they also have the lowest black turnout. That's not a
And the highest
coincidence.
number of black folks are in the Southeast in
That's
this
right.
nation.
That's right.
That's
You have
crazy.
the highest rate of eligible black voters in any state in America is North Carolina and Louisiana. Top two. They also have the lowest black turnout. Those coincidences,
Crazy.
those ain't coincidences, that's oppression.
Mm. Those are not coincidences. That's oppression. Woo! I'm telling you guys, pull your family, your friends, everybody, people down the street, everybody, pull everybody into this conversation because this is about you. It impacts you. We've got a next guest coming on very soon who I am just honored to have on. You'll see that person soon, but call your cousins, call your aunts and them, as they say, in them, and your neighbors. Bring everybody in because this conversation is a conversation you need to hear. Now, remember, the contrarian and the T will keep you up to date on all of these midterm elections. Mississippi is next Tuesday. Primary elections, Mississippi next Tuesday, then Illinois on the 17th of March, okay? So the primaries are coming one by one. But I want you to remember, I don't want you to get stuck like I did. I did not know that my polling place changed, right? Make sure you know redistricting has happened. Make sure you know your polling place because that was an issue in Texas. This ain't Texas, but it happened, okay? Make sure you know your polling place before your time is to go to the polls for the primary, okay? We need you to vote. We need you to speak through your vote. We need to hear you, okay? Now, I want to welcome someone who I've admired for her courage. I think she is a bad sister. Yes, she is. She's smiling and laughing, but she's a bad sister, and I wish her, she's my first Women's History Month guest. She's somebody, guys, bring those people in because she's getting ready to knock the pot over. She doesn't have her, I don't see her with her cup, but we're going to knock the pot over today. Her name happens to be Mary Trump. Yes, the one and only Mary Trump. Mary Trump, thank you for coming to the tea, sipping tea with me and knocking the pot over. I know you're going to knock the pot over. Look at her laughing. Oh boy, we can't hear you. Guys, we got it. We can't hear Mary. Mary, unmute. Unmute, Mary. There you go.
I'm a professional. April, Sarah, you're making me blush. It is so wonderful to be here with you, and the honor is truly all mine. I have admired you and your work for a long time, and just to be able to hang out with you is incredibly cool. So thank you.
Oh, we're gonna hang, my dear sister. We're gonna hang. That's all we do here at the T. We hang and we laugh. We tell the truth. Sometimes when you're with your friends and family, we call it laugh and lie. No, we laugh and tell the truth and shame the devil and knock the pot over. So, Mary, you have a book saying, "Who could ever love you in 2024? Too much and never enough. How family created the world's most dangerous man, 2020." And then you have two other books in this moment, and let's be clear, you have been ostracized by your family for telling the truth. If you don't know, she's related to the president of the United States, and she calls him by his first name, and probably some other stuff too, but that's a whole nother thing. So talk to us first. Let's talk about that piece right there. Um, you being ostracized from them, and is it freeing for you to tell the truth about who you know this man to be from your family relationship?
Yeah, listen, I think we labor under this illusion that because you're biologically related to people, they should be allowed to treat you badly,
Ooh.
right? Because I mean, I'm trying to top this. I don't know if I'm gonna. Those are not coincidences. That's oppression. Um, I want to try to top
Terrence, yeah,
that.
okay, yeah.
Man, props. That's incredible. But it's just weird. Like people, you're related to people, so therefore they should be able to treat you badly, and you should be able to put up with it and overlook it. And I just have never quite seen it that way. If people are your family members, they should actually treat you better than they treat other people. They should be there to protect you, look out for you, help you out if you need help. And that, of course, was
Hmm.
not at all the case in my family. And when I saw what Donald was doing to our country during his first term, which I knew would happen, I just didn't know the details. I felt that it would have been deeply irresponsible for me not to say something. Not because I had any interest in getting into some kind of confrontation with him, because as my uncle, like I had nothing, we had nothing to do with each other anymore, and that was done with. As an American citizen, I felt an obligation to my country, and it would have felt cowardly for me not to say anything. And obviously there was no reason at all.
Hmm.
Sorry, there was no way at all for me to know how it was going to play out. Um, so I'm very glad I did what I did, and yet clearly we have a long way to go here.
And there's a cost to you. You've lost your family because you've spoken out against Donald Trump. And if you could just gently and slowly or fast, whatever way you want to do it, tell. I
Yeah.
mean, you are ostracized.
Yeah, and listen, I think my family has always been an extraordinarily dysfunctional system.
Mm,
We like there it's very hard to explain because I kind of grew up in it and it seemed normal. Like I can't tell you how many times somebody has asked me, "So what was it like growing up in that family?" It's like, I don't know. It was normal because it was all of us grow up in our families, and
So,
what's the point
but
of comparison, right?
if it was normal then, is it normal? What you saw then of your uncle, does it seem like the same person today?
Yeah, and that's the thing. Donald has always been the same person.
Ooh,
He's never evolved, but he's
ooh.
degrading, obviously, over time. Like he's worse in some ways, but he's not at his core, he's the same person. And I think, I was never really close with anybody in my father's family because they wouldn't let me be. They hated my mom, and they had contempt for my father,
Child.
and
Ooh,
I was Freddie's sons. So I was Freddie's daughter, and I was a girl, so that didn't help either
that
because they're
part.
all very misogynistic. So it wasn't like I was losing much. I hadn't had a relationship with them in a long time. And it, again, it just felt like the thing I needed to do to have any kind of self-respect, and to feel like I had done whatever small part I could do to help inform the American people about what they were choosing potentially.
Mm. And as a kid, I have one uncle. I mean, uh, I had a couple on both sides of my family. When I was a kid, one uncle took me to spaghetti dinners. That was my Uncle Tommy. God bless him, rest his soul. And then my Uncle Paul on my mother's side, he used to come from Philadelphia and give me pennies out of his pocket. Say, here, take some pennies. Once he had a child that stopped, I kind of got mad that the child came. But did Donald Trump, was he that uncle to you?
No, no. Again, I mean, look, part of it is that there was a very weird split in my family. So my grandmother only dealt with the daughters and my grandfather only dealt with the sons. And then that happened with, like, I tried to hang with my brother and my cousin and my uncles,
Mhm.
but one, I was the youngest, and two, I was a girl, so they didn't really want me around, but I would try. And whenever Donald was at my grandparents' house, because we spent most of our weekends there,
Yeah.
and whenever he and my Uncle Rob came in from the city, we'd play either soccer or we'd throw baseball in the backyard. And so yes, I would play ball with them. But Donald, despite the fact that he was 20 years older than I was, and I was like 5, would still throw the ball as hard as he possibly could. I mean,
What? Oh my
so
God. The
there
male version
certainly
of
weren't any
Cruella de Vil.
pennies.
Okay, anyway. So let me ask you this. Are any members of the Trump family military?
My dad. My
Mm,
dad was a second lieutenant in the National Guard. In college, he participated in ROTC. So when he graduated, he was automatically a second lieutenant, and he was very proud of that. But because my family, my grandfather in particular, didn't really have any respect at all for that kind of service, my dad never really talked about it. But I do know from my mom that this was in the early 60s, so he was very worried that he was going to be sent to Vietnam, which leads me to believe that if he had been, he would have gone, unlike his younger brother. So again, my dad, I don't know for how long he served, but he did. Nobody else in my family did.
was it frowned upon?
Yeah. Yes.
Mhm.
And now again, whether it's because it was my dad doing it, or whether it was because my grandfather just had no use for anything outside of making lots of money doing real estate, I can't be sure.
Mhm.
But, by the same token, my dad was a professional pilot for TWA at the dawn of the jet age, and that was derided and frowned upon as well.
So, Mary, so that leads me into your comments, war of choice. You are very hard on this war
Yeah.
with
Oh
Iran.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
talk to me about that because I kept saying, I said, is anyone in their family someone who served in the military? It's good to know his brother did, but he frowned upon your grandfather frowned upon it. So
Yeah.
tell me about this this contradiction that you have with Donald Trump, your uncle, when it comes to this war.
Well, again, when you grow up raised by a father who doesn't believe in or care about service, and has no use for generosity or altruism, it isn't really unsurprising that we end up with somebody like Donald. But uh, it's tragic that the commander in chief is not simply somebody who never served, because I don't think that's a requirement to be president. I don't. I think there are other ways to serve your country, but he's never served his country in any way, shape, or form. And as he's demonstrated time and time again, he has contempt for service
Mm.
members. He has contempt for their sacrifices. He is completely um uh, frivolous about the way he's going about this. There's no real rationale for this war of choice. He had nothing meaningful or comforting to say after we lost 6 service members over the weekend, and 4 of them were returned to the airbase this morning, and not one person from the Trump regime was there to greet the remains. Not Donald, not the vice president, not the secretary of defense, nobody. And that is such a disgrace. It sends such a horrific message because not only can he not tell us why we are sacrificing blood and treasure, he's not going to do anything to help us get through it when we lose our own soldiers.
And
He is an utter disgrace.
Mary, I'm so glad you brought that up because I had the honor to witness the most solemn moment ever in my life at Andrews Air Force Base, the peaceful transfer of remains after Benghazi. Colin Powell was there, Hillary Clinton was there, Susan Rice was there, everyone was there. It was my pool day, and we didn't know where we were going or what was happening, and it happened. It was
Right.
the most, I get chills thinking about it. You
Yeah.
serve your country, and when you lose, there's no greater offering than to serve your country and then to die for your country. And
Yeah.
then for a president and his staff and others from other administrations and other parties across the aisle to come and say thank you.
Yeah.
And then this president, y'all, I'm done. Oh,
Well, and what's worse is that in announcing the loss of life because of his choices and his decisions, he literally said, well, we'll lose more people. That's the way it is. Oh, really? Is it? He has no sense of what sacrifice means, no
hmm.
sense of solemnity, and he's more interested in his gold drapes and his obscenely expensive ballroom than he is about the well-being of our soldiers.
No, and a new statue in the Rose Garden and all. I
Yes.
mean, you've got SNAP benefits that are on hold or they're trying to figure that out. People are still paying costly amounts for health insurance, and he's up here tearing down stuff, building up stuff. I mean, people are hurting. And
Yeah.
it's again, it's let them eat cake. And I keep saying this, it's Marie Antoinette. He is the male version of Marie Antoinette. Let's just put a gown on him and put him back in that time. You know, it's he's thumbing his nose at it. Feels like he doesn't care. Was this the attitude in your family? Did they look at? I mean, I know about the C's for coloreds on the
Yeah.
housing applications and all this other stuff, with the Central Park Five, now the exonerated five. But
Right.
was this the attitude in your family?
Yeah. They were to a person deeply racist and misogynistic and probably homophobic, but it wasn't really discussed back then. And my grandfather in particular was a very selfish, cheap person.
Mhm.
So this is somebody who benefited enormously from government contracts,
Mhm.
hundreds of millions of dollars in government contracts, and yet did everything in his power to avoid paying taxes
Hmm.
because nobody else deserved anything. And this is one of the many problems of having put into power a guy who thinks that money is more important than everything else, because in my family money stood in for everything.
Hmm.
And literally it was the only currency. It mattered more than love or affection or respect. And when that's the way you live your life, you you look at everything as a zero sum game. The more I have, the less you have, so I'm better. I am literally and metaphorically worth more. If I give you something, then I'm worth less. And that is how Donald Trump treats the United States Treasury, as if it were his.
His
So
pocketbook. That's right.
his pocketbook.
Plundering
So
through it.
yeah. So if you stop funding USAID, then somehow like he's saving money. Meanwhile, in addition to leading to the completely avoidable deaths of 700,000 people, including 400,000 children, you're
Mhm.
also taking money away from American farmers because USAID paid American farmers to send their goods overseas to prevent
That's
people from
right.
starving to death.
Come
Yes.
on.
So,
That's right.
yeah.
Preach it, Mary Trump. Come on. The worship
Yeah.
service of Mary Trump. Come on. Before I let you go, and I'm so thankful that you're here. You don't know. I've been enamored with you since you first started speaking out. That's hard. And I mean, we all have family dynamics. Trust me, I do too. But to do this so publicly against the President of the United States and at a cost. I'm just so thankful for you. And I want you to hear what some of the people are saying. Someone said humanity first. Tamara says if the Nazis talked about owning the libs, then MAGA probably would support it. Omar said, sadly, most American voters did not listen to you in 2024, Mary. Sue says, I'm a white grandma here to keep supporting by thanking and joining Black women in organizations that for decades have shown up to fight for our rights, rights which now we battle and restore and constitutionalize. Lori says, Lori says, my family was also toxic, but once they dug their heels into MAGA, I discarded them from my life. Final straw for me was my sister defending her right to fly the Confederate flag. Ooh, and then she said in all caps, bye. Yeah, we
Yeah.
said bye.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's yeah. So, I mean, what do you say to these comments?
I agree with all of them. I mean, there are lines that we need to draw. There are things that we need to recognize are utterly unacceptable, even if they're coming from family members that we love and care about, because we're human beings, and we cannot allow people, even maybe especially our family, to think that it's okay to be so hateful, to be so narrow-minded, to be so limited in our ability to care for other people. It's going to degrade all of us. It's poisoning this country.
Mhm.
And I think our way forward, if we are going to have a shot at rehabilitating ourselves, is to dig deep into kindness and compassion and empathy, because those things now are being they're being devalued by the people in charge, and it's not landing us in a good place. So we need to take all of that back and hope that it's going to see us through to better times.
Barbara R says, thank you, Mary Trump, for speaking out against hate. And also, I want to ask you really fast, what do you think about Nome? You talked about the misogyny. Christy Nome does not look like she used to. She looked like she went through the Trump factory machine and
Yeah.
came out looking like, like
Yeah.
they all look.
Like they all
Um,
look.
yeah, like they all look. It's the same look.
Yeah.
Um, what do you think about him saying goodbye to her, even though she may be at the end of the month, he finally let go? I mean, it's a win for Democrats.
I mean, don't get me wrong, she's horrible, but he's replacing her, or he's trying to replace her with Mark Wade Mullen, who will be less obviously awful, but still do whatever he's told. So I don't necessarily think that it's going to end well for us. And also, the reason she was fired isn't because under her watch, ICE agents murdered American citizens on American soil. Donald likes that. It's because she was putting the spotlight on her. And I think also she didn't act like Pam Bondi in the hearing yesterday. She made concessions, and that's just not allowed. So I think either way, we're in really bad shape when it comes to the
And
Department of Homeland Security.
and she never said if she was having an affair with Corey Lewandowski. She never
Well, she
said
would have had to
no.
lie under oath.
Right. She never said no. She has a bed on that plane, and they talked about the Mile High Club and all that other stuff. I know the
Yeah.
president didn't like that. So,
Yeah.
look, everybody, there's a lot of hearts. Mary Trump, I told you we were only going to be on for a certain point. I
Yes.
thank you because we got
I know.
another
I could
guest
talk to you
coming.
all day, but we'll do this again for sure.
Yeah, I would love to. People are giving you so many hearts. They are loving
Oh,
you. We
that's awesome.
appreciate it. And you get love over here. Don't worry about the family. I'll have you over for Thanksgiving turkey, for Christmas dinner. We can watch Santa Claus. I got you, sis. I got
Sounds amazing. April, you are so wonderful. I just love hanging out with you. So thank you so much for everything you do, because you too have been through it and have sacrificed and have exercised journalism in such a professional, profound way that more people should be emulating. So thank you for your courage.
thank you, Mary Trump, that you have brightened my whole Women's History Month. You brightened my year. I'm getting chills.
Yay.
It means something coming from a shiro, honey. From one
Oh,
shiro to the other. Thank you, my sister. Thank you, Mary
thank you.
Trump. I'll talk to you soon.
All
Thank
right. Take
you.
care. Thanks, everybody.
And
Bye.
guys, that was the great Mary Trump. Mary Trump. Mary Trump. Mary Trump. Mary Trump. I'm so honored to have had her on the show. Man, that was wonderful. We're going to get her back soon. Y'all are just giving hearts. It's just amazing. Now, back on Christy Nome, and this is from the chat. Nancy says, good riddance! Exclamation, exclamation, exclamation. Iris says, couldn't have happened to a nicer piece of trash. Oh, gosh. I need to proofread and reread these statements before I go to air. Linda says, dogs around the world are celebrating! Exclamation point. Oh, my gosh. That's true. That's true. She did write in her book that she killed her dog. And as my dog, I'm nursing my dog right now. He was just neutered this week, and we just want to make sure he's laying down. You may have seen his head, his all of his hair walking behind me. God bless you, Kari. He's all good. I, if you hurt a dog or kill a dog, something's wrong. So then also Tiffany says Mark Wayne, one word, Mark Wayne Mullen isn't exactly better. Terrence says Ziggy, well, Ziggy, not Terrence. Ziggy says, I think some white women stayed home. I have talked to some white women and they are regretting their 2024 vote. Now that's about voting. Tamara says voter suppression for the win. Nuala says, you're fired, but here's another nice job for you. Hardly justice for the harm she caused with Stephen Miller. Nothing is likely to change until Miller is reined in. Whoo! You guys aren't playing. Lori, okay, we just did that. All right, so guys, I'm telling you, we are in this mode of talking about what's happening. Guys, are we ready yet for the next guest, or are we good? Let me know. So in the meantime, I want to give you something because we're getting ready to go to Congressman Kweisi Mfume, who keeps coming in and out. He's had some mic issues, but we're going to get him on. It's important that we get Congressman Kweisi Mfume on today. We must get him on because we are talking about all of this stuff that's happening. So think about this. All of you, okay, all right, okay. All right, so guys, okay, we got more comments we're going to do, but I want you guys to listen to this. We're going to talk to Congressman Kweisi Mfume, and one of the things that I brought him in for is because he sits on the House Foreign Affairs Committee. And you know, we've had Congressman Greg Meeks on to talk about it, also Congresswoman Sidney Kamlager-Dove to talk about what's happening. But think about this. We are at war. We are at war. We are at war. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. We are at war. And today, a song that keeps coming to my mind. You all know it. For those of you who are wise in years, you know what I'm talking about. War, what is it good for? Absolutely nothing. You know, listen to the first verse. I mean, I'm thinking about this. War I despise because it means destruction of innocent lives. War means tears to thousands of mothers' eyes when their sons go out to fight and lose their lives. Verse 2. War is the enemy of all mankind. The thought of war blows my mind. War has caused unrest within the younger generation, induction and destruction. Who wants to die? Edwin Starr, okay? And then the third verse, war has shattered many young men's dreams, made them disabled, bitter, and mean. Life is too short and precious to be fighting wars. Child, this is something. So here's what we're getting ready to do. All right. For all of you who are wise in years, let's just do it together. War. Ugh, good God. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. Sing it again. I'm not saying it again, but think about that. Think about that. Think about that. Now I think the congressman is ready, or he was. Team, okay, hold on. We're going back to more comments. All right, here we go. Um, all right. Stand by. Okay, they're checking his audio. You got to hear from the congressman. He's got a beautiful voice and a lot of good words to say. I can tell you about that later on. He was my first boss in radio in 1986. Kweisi Mfume, congressman. Yes, he was. We'll tell you about that in a minute. So, when it comes to known, Christina says, does this mean that Corey Lewandowski is leaving too? That's a good question. He and Donald Trump have had a crazy relationship. Tracy says she sold her soul for DT and he dumped her like it was nothing. Violet's drummer says she should pay us back for the 200 million she spent on ads. That's just like that tariff money, you know. I want that money back too because I bought a couple things. Travis says we are at war with ourselves. No, we're not just at war with ourselves. We're at war with other countries. This could possibly turn into World War III, Travis. So Christina says early voting starts tomorrow in Virginia on the redistricting map. Vote. Good. Bacon says, excuse me, as awful as she is, I feel that there's a lot of misogyny directed at Nome. How damaged is she to have had all that surgery? Ooh, that is the Republican view of women. Lindy says, war is no good for anyone. I will send my grandchildren to Canada rather than have them fight for Trump. So, every week keep talking about everyone didn't know if okay. Thank you guys. Okay, Kweisi Mfume is coming on in a few minutes, so just stand by. But listen, one thing that I loved about Mary Trump is the fact that she told us that her father served in the military. We have been saying oh, we don't know who served. We know Donald Trump had bone spurs. None of his children are. But you know what? That youngest son is of military age. I can tell you that. Barron, he's nice and tall too. Just saying. So without further ado, I want to bring my friend on. Yes, he's a friend. I've known this man for a long time. Family friend. I told you guys he was my boss at Morgan State. Hold on, because everybody gets mad at me when I don't have all my paraphernalia. My Morgan State paraphernalia, guys. I even got my Morgan mug because we have all these HBCUs. Yes, behold this blue and orange. Morgan State. I'm a Morgan State baby. I'm a Morgan State baby. And without further ado, the man who hired me at WEAA FM in Baltimore in 1985. He was the program director then. He was a city councilman. He was a city councilman on his way to Congress. I'm talking about none other than the Honorable Kweisi Mfume. Hello, sir. Thank you.
Hi, April. It's good to see you. It's good to see you. Those were good years back then. They've just gone by so quickly.
Can you believe it? I know every time we talk, you're like, how old are your kids? You're like, oh gosh. Yeah,
Yeah.
but they were good years. And I'm so proud to see you where you are in your
Thank you.
career. You come from Baltimore, you Baltimore proud. And I thank
All
you
the
for
way.
helping me. I thank you for being there for me and helping me be where I am and who I am. But you heard me talk about Edwin Starr. War, good God. What is it good for? Absolutely nothing. So tell us, why are we in Iran?
We're in Iran technically because Donald Trump, in his own words, said he woke up and he got the feeling that Iran was going to attack us. And so he followed his feeling and ordered attacks on Iran. That's the simple answer. The more complex answer is that some of this, I'm sure, has to do with world domination. Some of it has to do with oil. A lot of it has to do with money that's moving back and forward. And some of it also is this president's ego, unfortunately, which has led us into a situation which is all out war, even though I hear a lot of my friends in the media trying to say it's a conflict. No, this is a war. Trump called it that. Hegseth's called it that. And General Kane has called it that. We met with them Tuesday evening in a classified security briefing, only to confirm what we had already thought. Number one, there was no imminent threat, even though that's what we got as an answer on last Saturday morning. No imminent threat against the United States whatsoever that they could disclose or talk about. The other thing is that there is no end game to this. There was clearly no strategy to figure out what's next. And so the what's next question keeps being asked over and over again. And if this was about regime change, as the president said, well, the regime has changed. The question becomes, what regime comes in next? And if you don't like that regime, are you back to doing the same thing, dropping bombs, firing missiles, and engage in a propaganda war? The issue here is that the area is so destabilized right now. It's not just Iran, it's Iraq, it's Qatar, it's Oman, it's the United Arab Emirates, it's Saudi Arabia, all of that. And you might as well throw Israel into it also. It's a very unstable region. We've got
The Middle East is unstable.
1,500 American citizens that are stranded because there was no clear plan as to how to get them out.
Say that number again.
1,500.
So wait a minute. So typically, and you and I know this, if we're going to war or thinking about it, we typically put out a travel advisory, right? We
Yes.
tell everyone, look, leave or don't go. We put out a travel advisory. There was no travel advisory.
None.
They have not said, this government has not said how we're going to get the people out. Not only that, I mean, I'm even getting someone, I mean, people are desperate. I got a email from someone who went to my website and they were like, look, my daughter is there. She's a pre-med student and she's from Charlotte, North Carolina. And I'm like, oh my God, I felt so bad. And I forwarded it on to one of your colleagues because I don't know what to do. And it's serious. But here's the thing. The next piece is the people who are there, they are afraid because they can't, the embassies have been bombed. There's no place to call, no website to go to. What do we do?
Well, it's the same question we had in the classified briefing, and Secretary Rubio and Secretary Hegseth said that they are working on three things. They're working on commercial flights, they're working on military flights, and they're working on chartered flights. But then they all had to admit none of that means very much because the airspace over the Middle East is compromised right now.
Yes.
As you know, the airport in Dubai took a direct hit 3 days ago.
Yes.
And so there is no real airspace that's safe right now. And the only way they can do that is that we've got to get bombers up in the air to allow for a commercial flight. But then the question becomes, is there runway space at any of the airports that have been bombed or have not been bombed? So it's a crazy situation. And, you know, the president has prerogative. I want to remind him every day he does not have carte blanche. There's a big difference between that. It's your prerogative as the president to do X, Y, and Z, but you do not have outright carte blanche just to do what you want to do. We're in a situation where the Shiites, which are most of the Iranians right now, in a very religious situation and what they see as a religious war, they're not just in Iran. They're in all of the Middle Eastern countries. They're a very dominant group. And when you throw in the Revolutionary Guard and the Hezbollah troops that were in another country and Hamas and the Hittites, that leads to a situation where you just can't predict what the future is going to be. And so this administration is in a quandary. He says it's going to be over in 4 or 5 weeks. Well, we've heard that before. And the question becomes how many more American servicemen and servicewomen get killed in a conflict like this where they don't have adequate protection and where they are there fulfilling their duties by and large as either enlisted or reservists or volunteers. So it's a tough situation to say the very least.
Let me go to chat because you know, I had been wanting to travel overseas in April. I wanted to travel overseas in April and I was told, don't do it. Don't do anything right now. And I said, okay, let me sit tight. And now this. It's like, because this man is so volatile, we don't know. He's going after Venezuela, he's going after this place, he's going after that place, and we just don't know. So,
well, he's also a liar. He's a liar because that 12-day war in June of last year, the president got on national TV and he said, and I quote, "We have totally obliterated Iran's capability to build a nuclear weapon and to enrich uranium."
right.
Totally obliterated. Now, the Defense Intelligence Agency came behind him and said, yes, the president is right, and it will take 10 years for Iran now to develop that capability. So how could there be this imminent threat when you
Right.
tell us that you've destroyed everything, and then you get up Saturday morning and you say, quote, "I just had a feeling that they were getting ready to attack, and so we launched first."
I don't want to sound trite, but James Brown saying, I got a feeling. I mean, it's not like that. It's not about a feeling. The White House is a place where war and peace are spoken and written. and you have to be solemn and somber in your approach to everything. It changes markets, it changes life and death. People have died. The man didn't even show up at the solemn occasion when the bodies came back to Andrews or to the United States. Who does that? And we voted this man in. I didn't vote, but you know.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. No, I do know. I do know. And, we just concluded a vote here in the Congress less than an hour ago, in which we were trying to make him abide by the article in the Constitution concerning war powers.
Yes.
And the Republican Party lined up with him. And so the vote did not pass. I think it failed by about 5 votes or so. And so now he's probably more emboldened than ever since it failed in the Senate yesterday to do whatever he wants to do. That's why I said we've got to tell him, yeah, you've got prerogative as a president. You don't have carte blanche just to do whatever you want to do. And this situation is crazy. You saw the price of oil has gone up considerably by the barrel.
Yeah.
The pump price, I'm told, today has gone up by 25%. The last time I looked at the Dow today, it was down by 1,000 points. People are getting nervous. This situation is getting worse. The Strait of Hormuz, which is controlled by Iran, that's the waterway where 80% of Iranian oil passes through and 20% of the world's stockpile passes through there. Right now, the Iranians still control the Strait of Hormuz. They're not allowing any ships, foreign ships, to go through. And this uncertainty about prices is just going to continue. I would not be surprised, however, if the next military action that the president orders will be against those troops that are patrolling and guarding the Strait of Hormuz.
So I'm glad you brought up about the War Powers Act. Jane said, Representative Mfume, how can Congress become more vocal and stop this war of violence? I mean, you just said it. I mean, you just answered that. But let me ask you, I mean, Congress has the purse strings and Congress can declare war. But he thinks he is the ultimate king. He thinks he's got everything under control. There's one branch of government in his mind, not 3.
Well, there's an option here, but it's a 60-day option, which seems like forever now. If we were to wait 60 days and then have a vote as required on funding of the war, I don't know how that would go, but short of what we did today and tried to do, that's the next option. That's why it's important for people to speak out and to stand up and to protest. I mean, the No Kings movement that's coming up is a perfect opportunity for that. There's so many people who feel helpless, who really are inspired when they see other people feeling just as upset as they are about their government and what's going on. We've got to continue for those persons living in districts with Republican Congress people who continue to support this man. They've got to make sure they're being vocal with those congresspersons by saying, look, we didn't sign up for this. When you look at the Marjorie Taylor Greens of the world, who just quit less than a month or 2 months ago because the MAGA movement is upset with him, having thought that he was going to be an America First war, and now he's a president, and now he's an American everything president. We're in everything that we can get into. So he's got problems on his end, but the people who are supporting him, Republican members of Congress, need to hear from their constituents. Democrats are doing over and over again what we think is the right thing to do in terms of outright resistance, trying to use the law, trying to use the courts, and trying to find a way to get people emboldened and engaged to speak out.
Robert says, no more money for this war, exclamation, exclamation. Katie says, very unstable and prone to get worse. David says, the launch of this war during Ramadan is deliberate and intentional. The cruelty is the point. That is something, because that makes you think that it's a religious war. And that's bad. That is very bad. It's very disrespectful in the worst way. Heather says, thank you for all your discussion. Such level-headed information is so necessary. That's what we try to give you here at the T. Chris, thank you, April, for asking about the Americans stranded overseas by this illegal war. Marianne, my friends were trapped in Jordan. They should be on their way home right now. Yeah, I'm watching people go around to get to Paris and then flying out to it's crazy what we're seeing. Susan said he's running the war the same way he ran his reality show, just making things up at the last minute, leaving his staff to try to clean up his mess. Robert says Trump will never stop this due to his info coming out in Epstein. Exclamation, 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 exclamation. Omar says, "Hey Omar, we are in Iran and at the behest of Bibi Netanyahu and Epstein distractions and Project 2025 and Trump grifting." And Ziggy says, "Profit, power, and perversion. Get Kushner and Witkoff off out of the negotiations." Who? So what threat level are we in? Because no one's talking about, they said, oh, we're on high alert. Like I know, whenever something happens like this, there's a ranking. What threat level has your committee felt that we're in this moment in this country?
Well, it's the State Department that declares and sets the threat level, and I don't think they have at all. As I indicated, we met with Rubio, Hegseth, General Kane, and the head of CIA 2 evenings ago, and there was no discussion of a threat level here in this country. The discussion was overseas, and we reminded them that there's 1,500 people overseas that have been under a high threshold threat level since this thing happened, but nobody thought about them when the decision was to push the buttons, launch the missiles, and to continue the buildup. The other thing is the cost of this war. It is running into the billions of dollars now. The United States has used a large part of its munitions cache. You cannot fire all those missiles and all those drones and not expect that you are depleting your own reserves. So there are a lot of things going on here, not to mention the fact that there could very well be sleeper cells in this country.
That part, lone wolves and sleeper cells. Tell me about that. And how did they talk about the protection for this country? Or how are they looking? Are they really looking out? Are they listening to the chatter and all that? Because they fired all the intelligence people, the national security people. How are they looking for these lone wolves and sleeper cells?
Well, the only way they can is through the CIA and through the FBI, and the CIA's mission by and large is overseas, and the FBI is compromised already because they fired so many people from that agency who were working on other things. But that's the real fear that a lot of people have, that the sleeper cells are already here and that they're just waiting to be activated. And, let's be real honest. When you're dealing with a religious zealot, and I hate to use the word zealot, but a religious militia, that's a better term. They believe that their number one goal is to win, that they will be rewarded later on in the afterlife.
That's right.
So they're not afraid to die. It's kind of like in World War II when the Japanese had kamikaze pilots. They would fly directly into a submarine, not a submarine, but a US military ship, blow it up, kill themselves in the process because they were just so concerned about making sure that they kept their pride and they did what they were supposed to do. In this case, it's religious pride. It's the Shiites, basically, as I've indicated before, that really control Iran and many of the other countries. And this is just going to go on and on and on unless we are able to state what is our objective. Now, when Hegseth is asked about that, he continues to say our objective is to take away their Navy, to do away with their missile launch capability, and to make sure they don't have nuclear weapons. Well, that's fine and dandy, but the president told us 7 months ago they didn't have any weapons, that we had destroyed all of them. We are now destroying, as you see, vessels using our submarines and nuclear subs to do that. And the launch sites and the launch pads are very portable on land. And so unless you're able to get troops on the ground and go throughout the whole countryside, you're not going to be able to destroy all those. But we're in a situation where there has to be an end game. Nobody in this administration is able to talk about that or tell us what it looks like. The president has taken his prerogative and turned it into a carte blanche credit card to do whatever he wants to do with it. And we continue to have to resist. We have to speak out, fight back, push back, stand up, and speak out.
Guys, the congressman just spoke about the gutting of intelligence. The FBI counterintelligence program gutted by Doge, gutted by Kash Patel. That Doge stuff did more damage than you know. So, Congressman Mfume, though, we are running out, or we've taken a big hit with our weapons. Do you think that we're going to be able to replenish or no?
Well, I assume so. I mean, the defense industry in this country, as you know, thrives. And the more there are wars, the more weapons are needed. And so they thrive some more. So my sense is that there's probably already been an effort to gin up production. The National Defense Act gives the authority to the president to do that if they're not turning out enough weapons. But I think so. But the problem is that the ones that you've blown up and exploded and used and paid for, you don't get that money back. And that's billions and billions of dollars. Not only that, we're not even trying to use propaganda on the ground to say to Iranians who are rising up against the regime, we have your back, here's what we're going to do. We're not talking to them at all. It used to be through Radio Free Europe and the Voice of America and Radio Marti. We found a way using what was then the predecessor to Starlink to get information on the ground, to create internet networks. But we're not even doing that right now. And so the people who have been rising up have to feel to some extent that the U.S. has not really cared very much about their safety or has abandoned them.
And two quick questions, because my team is letting me know we're almost at 6, and I'm just so thankful that I got you. I had to catch you at the airport at 6 a.m. going to the Image Awards to say, look, you haven't been on my show yet. And you said, all right, and you came, you
Yeah,
promised that you came through. And I appreciate it. People are
thank you.
giving a lot of hearts for that right now. But really fast, two questions. One, what do you think about Kristi Noem? She's fired. You're fired. He fired her. And then I want to get your reflections on our late friend Jesse Jackson.
Well, I'm glad Kristi Noem is gone. As you know, I was one of the co-signers on the articles of impeachment a few weeks back because she was so bad overseeing what happened in Minnesota with the death of two innocent Americans. And she had the nerve to call them terrorists and has made several trips before the Congress and has refused to apologize to those families. So she did not need to be there. And I think once the president saw his own Republicans on the Senate side going after her, he figured it was time to let her go, which he did. So there no tears shed here. However, her replacement is just as conservative, I'll use that word, as she is on these issues. And then the other thing regarding Jesse, I'm going to get on a flight in a couple of hours to get to Chicago to be there in the morning with Jackie and with the whole family. Jesse's meant so much to so many of us after all these years. He was my buddy, to say the very least. And we did a lot together, a whole lot together. I met Jesse in '76. I was a Jackson delegate in 1980, where we were considered to be renegades within the party. And Jesse pulled out of that race in '80. He came back in '84. I was a Jackson delegate, and again in '88. He's just an American folk hero who's done so much to change the tenor and tone of our nation. He's led by example on so many different issues, both internationally as well as domestically. It's a voice that will be missed and a person, I think, that will be very, very difficult to replace. So we've got to put him in the annals of history with all the great ones that helped to change our trajectory and to make us understand that we are, in fact, somebody.
I am somebody. Come on. Mm. You just hit me there. I appreciate you. I thank you. You don't know how much this meant. Guys, I'm gonna tell you this. I'm gonna be honest with you. I don't know. This man doesn't sleep because he texted me at 2 a.m. and I'm crazy. I woke up at 2, texting him back. So look,
You did.
I
You
did.
did.
He's like, oh my God. He said, I'm coming on your
And
show.
I looked at my phone. I said, "What is going on? She should not be up this time of
Well,
night."
why were you texting me?
I don't know.
I know both of our spouses were like, what is going on?
Yes.
Give Tiffany my love. Tiffany, he got on. Thank you. I
Will do.
appreciate you, sir. Come
Thank you
back.
so much.
You are welcome to come back anytime. Your former student
Thank
says
you.
this is your platform. Come on.
Thank you. Thank you, April. I
Sir.
appreciate it. God
Thank
bless.
you. The great Honorable Congressman Kweisi Mfume of Maryland. He's on his way to go to bid his fond farewell to Reverend Jesse Jackson in Chicago tomorrow. And with that said, guys, another tea. We have knocked the pot over. We've sipped, we've laughed, we've cried. I had to laugh to keep from crying. I mean, my heart still hurts. One thing I do know, and I wanted to bring up to the congressman, but I didn't because we're short on time and my team is like, it's time to go. But here's one thing. Think about this. A large portion of those who are serving in Iran right now on the US military side have not gone home in a year. They're taxed in a lot of ways. You know, if you believe in a higher power, this is that time. We are in war. We are in war. This is wartime in the United States. And I want you to understand that there is a threat here. The congressman just said it. Sleeper cells. Be careful. He's been through, we've been through a lot of this. And they say be careful of your setting, be mindful of your settings. Large gatherings are high targeted, the high targets. The symbols of this nation are high targets as well. Be careful as you walk and do your life. I want to see you back here again. I want to be back here again. But I'm telling you guys, we do this because it's a needed service. I want you to subscribe. Your subscription could be as little as a cup of tea at your favorite barista. Well, that's coffee. But you know, they do tea and coffee. And with that said, I want to say bid farewell to you guys as I say rest in power, Reverend Jackson. He was a friend, a mentor, a source, and he's now one of those pillars in this nation that we will never forget, who's in the history books. He was a friend, now he's an ancestor. Thank you so much for all you imparted on me. I'm getting chills. Guys, God bless. Relax, relate, release, have some tea.